Daughter, I know you arrived here with a racing heart, searching for a sign amidst the deafening noise of your own thoughts. You felt that flutter in your stomach, that hesitation before clicking, as if something inside you knew this meeting was already marked on my eternal agenda. It wasn't chance that brought you here. It was my whisper. Fear has tried to convince you that your path has ended in a dead end, but I am here to tell you that fear will not stop you. I saw every night when the silence of your kitchen seemed too heavy, when the weight of those worries made your shoulders slump and your hands tremble slightly as you held that cup of cold coffee. I was there when you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the strong woman I created, seeing only the shadows of the fears that surround you. Many before you felt this same desert. Remember Joshua, before walls that seemed to touch the sky, or Mary, when the future seemed a terrifying unknown. I did not leave them alone, and I will not leave you. Today, I will open your eyes to see that this paralysis you feel is not your destiny, but an invisible fence that the enemy tried to erect. I will show you how to identify the root of this anguish and how to neutralize every whisper of defeat with my word. If you remain with me until the last second of this message, I will give you a spiritual key, a powerful phrase that will be your shield in times of affliction. If this voice of mine is finding a place in your heart now, let me know that you are listening. Write below so that I may see what your name is, from what place in this world you are listening to me, and what time the clock shows at this moment when our hearts meet. And, as a sincere outpouring from a daughter who recognizes the presence of the Father, leave it recorded in the comments, Lord my God, I am here. I subscribe to this channel because I love you with all my soul and desperately long to hear you. I saw the effort you made not to give up today. I saw when you took a deep breath to avoid crying in front of others. You know, fear often acts like a fog that hides the landscape I have prepared for you. It makes you believe that the risk of walking is greater than the pain of standing still. But I assure you, there is a clear answer waiting for you at the end of this journey. A phrase will be whispered to your inner self if you don't leave, and whoever writes it with faith will see the floodgates of heaven moving. You have lived through days when uncertainty seems like a giant shouting in your ear, saying that you are too old, that time has passed, or that the wounds of the past are too deep to be healed. But I ask you, who has the last word on your life? Is it me, the creator of all things, or is it your memories of failure? This feeling that the sky is closed, as if made of bronze, is just an illusion of your tired senses. I am moving the waters in silence. Before we move on to the next step in this revelation, I want you to reflect. What would you be doing today if fear didn't exist in your vocabulary? Tell me honestly, what does your soul most desire to accomplish right now? Share this video with that friend you know is also facing a silent storm. Being a light for others is the first step to emerging from your own darkness. If you feel peace, leave your sign of gratitude by enjoying this moment, and write to me with all your hope. I receive your peace. But listen carefully. What I am about to reveal to you is something you haven't yet realized about this fence that binds you. There is something hidden at the root of your fear that needs to be exposed by my light, something you thought was protection, but which is actually your greatest prison. Have you noticed how fear builds walls where I have drawn horizons? It functions like an invisible fence, a border that you yourself have agreed to erect around your heart. This fence isn't made of iron or stone, but of every what-if you whispered during your sleepless nights. What if it doesn't work out? What if I'm humiliated again? What if the pain is unbearable? You look at this barrier and believe it protects you, but the truth, my daughter, is that it only imprisons you in what you imagine could go wrong. I see the heavy silence in your room when the lights go out and you stand there, staring into the void, feeling a lump in your throat that seems endless. I see it when you walk through your house and feel the air is thick, as if the weight of the world rests on your weary shoulders. This invisible fence defines how far you allow yourself to dream. You stopped planning that small business, you stopped believing your marriage could be restored, and you fell silent when I called you to speak of my love, all because fear told you the limit was there, in that hesitant step. The fear you feel today is the fruit of bitter seeds planted in yesterday's soil. They are the voices of people who hurt you, experiences that left you scarred and now scream that the future will be just a repetition of the past. But listen to my voice. Fear is a liar that feeds on your imagination. It shows you a giant, but it doesn't show you the stone I've already placed in your hand. He shows you the storm, but hides the fact that I am the one who walks on water. Remember what I have written to comfort your soul. In Psalm 23 verse 4 I told you, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Notice that I did not promise that the valley would cease to exist, but I guaranteed that fear would have no power over you, because my presence is your safe haven. The valley is real, but the shadow it casts is only an illusion to make you stop. You have been living as if you were surrounded by barbed wire, hurting you every time you try to move. But I have come today to cut those wires. I have come to show you that this barrier only has the power you give it. When you decide to take a step, even with trembling legs, the fence disappears, because it was never real before my authority. If this understanding is beginning to clarify your vision, like this video as a sign that you are ready to see beyond the fences. If you feel that someone else needs to stop hurting themselves within these imaginary barriers, share this message now. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something simply because you trusted in me, ignoring what fear dictated? Write here in the comments our word of faith for this moment, sealing your decision to no longer accept limits imposed by fear. I follow your light. But pay attention. What I'm going to ask of you now requires a surrender that you have not yet experienced. There is something in your gratitude that needs to become a seed of power, something that will open paths where before there was only undergrowth and thorns. Daughter, I see how you have held on to everything so tightly, afraid that if you let go a little, nothing will remain. But the kingdom where I dwell operates according to laws that fear does not understand. To harvest, you must first have the courage to plant, to open your hand and let the seed touch the earth, trusting that I am the one who sends the rain at the right time. Today I invite you to a gesture of surrender that springs from your soul, not out of obligation, but from an overflowing of faith. If it is possible for your heart, and only if you feel that this is the moment, transform your gratitude for these words into a seed of love for this channel. Consider my love and that of my son Jesus, and contribute using the link in the description of this video and in the pinned comment. There you will find the place where your offering of love can be deposited and consecrated before the Creator of all things. You can contribute any amount. If you want a different amount, just type the desired amount. And remember, only what fits in your heart. I receive with love. The amount doesn't matter. What matters is the heart with which you give. For what is little for you can be much for the one who receives it. Anyone who contributes any amount with a sincere heart, please remember to include your name and city with your contribution. Because on the first day of the following month, in a unique and special video on our channel and page Divine Love, the Voice of God, your name will be remembered, mentioned in gratitude, and showered with divine blessings released in prayer. For it is written in the Gospel of Luke chapter 6 verse 38, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use it will be measured to you. Every offering made in faith is a seed before me, your Lord, and none of them will fail to bear fruit. I watch in secret and reward in the sight of all. My daughter, fear tries to dry up your generosity, but my grace makes life spring forth in the desert. Do not fear scarcity, for it is I who sustain the universe with my power. Remain until the end of this message, because I still want to touch your heart with my voice. My daughter, you know exactly whose voices echo in your silence when the house is empty and the afternoon light begins to fade. They are voices that do not come from me, but that you have harbored in your soul as if they were absolute truths. You hear the echo of that old judgment, that disdainful look you received years ago, or the cruel whisper that said you wouldn't be able to start over after 50. These voices are like noises trying to drown out my melody of peace. I see it when you hold your phone with sweaty hands, waiting for a message that never arrives, or when you feel that tightness in the back of your neck, a physical tension that arises every time you think about your future. These voices that paralyze you often wear the mask of prudence, but deep down, they are just chains. They tell you that you are too old for a new love, that your business will never get off the ground, or that your children will never return to my path. But I ask you, who knows the end from the beginning? Who has measured the waters in the palm of their hand and named each star that shines above their head? You have listened to those who never planted a seed of hope in your heart. Fear feeds on sound, but courage feeds on my revealing silence. For it is written in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 1, verse 7, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." Understand, my beloved, that the fear that holds you back does not come from my hands. What I have given you is an armor of strength and a balanced mind. The fear you feel now is an intruder, a spirit trying to occupy the place that belongs only to my Holy Spirit. Now imagine that scene that repeats itself. You sitting on the edge of your bed, your feet touching the cold floor of the early morning, your head bowed and your thoughts swirling around debts, losses, or loneliness. At that moment, voices scream that your fate is sealed. But it is precisely there, amidst this mental noise, that I lean in to whisper in your ear. I use the sound of the wind in the windows to remind you that I still move things. I use the beating of your heart to prove that you still have the breath to fight. Don't let the noise of the world drown out my gentle and delicate voice. You have discernment, daughter. Begin to identify now. Does that voice that says you will fail have my tone of love? Does that voice that accuses you and makes you feel small resemble the voice of the Father who rescued you? Learn to filter what enters your heart. Your soul is a sacred garden, not a repository of others' criticism or poorly healed traumas. When you neutralize these voices with my truth, the giant that seemed invincible begins to shrink before your new posture. If this discernment is now entering your soul like a sword, separating lies from truth, leave your sign of surrender. If you feel that this call to silence the critics is for you, enjoy this encounter. If you know another woman who lives imprisoned by what others say, share this light with her right now. Let me ask you, what is the voice that has been trying hardest to convince you to give up in recent days? Write in the comments the word that seals your newfound authority over these thoughts. I surrender. But listen carefully. The fight against these voices requires constant companionship. I have prepared something to be with you every minute of this silence, a gift that will teach you to hear me, even when the world is screaming. My daughter, I know there are times when my voice seems distant, muffled by the urgencies of your day and the weariness that weighs on your eyes at the end of the day. I see when you withdraw and the silence of the early morning becomes the stage where your deepest fears try to interrogate you. In those hours, the tears you hide from the world wet your pillow, and the desire to start again seems crushed by the uncertainty of a new dawn. For these moments of fragility, I have prepared a refuge, a map of light to guide your steps when the fog of doubt tries to disorient you. If your heart desires to delve deeper into my presence and find a daily remedy for this affliction, I have left you a gift in the form of a journey that I wrote with much love and care for all my beloved daughters and sons, the digital book called Divine Love Devotional, The Voice of God. This devotional was prepared to accompany you day after day, being my companion in your early mornings and your comfort on stormy days. Access to this intimate encounter is also available via the link in this video's description and in the pinned comment. And listen carefully. If today is not possible for you, do not condemn yourself or feel helpless. Remain with me here, because I will also sustain you with this message until the end, and so that your heart may rest and not be confused by unnecessary worries. After you register, access will arrive in the email you provided with all the correct instructions step by step to begin hearing my voice each new morning. For it is written in Psalm 56 verse 3, "When I am afraid, I will trust in you." This devotional is the support so that you do not have to walk alone. It will be your strength when trembling hands try to prevent you from acting. Now, take a deep breath and let my peace flood your heart. Stay with me, don't look away, because my light is about to illuminate a truth about your vulnerability that you never realized before. Many times, you look in the mirror and feel a deep shame for your limitations. You hide the trembling in your hands when you need to sign an important document, or when you hold the phone waiting for that news that could change everything. You feel small when the tiredness in your eyes reflects in the kitchen window, at that hour when everyone is asleep and you are left there, alone with your uncertainties. Fear whispers that your weakness is a flaw, that your age is a burden, and that your wounds make you unworthy of great things. But listen to what your Father has to say to you now. It is precisely in those cracks of your being that my light shines most intensely. You think I seek the strong, the unwavering, those who have never felt a lump in their throat when faced with a bill to pay or a difficult diagnosis. But the truth is that my kingdom is made up of people who recognize that they cannot walk alone. Your vulnerability is not a sign of defeat, it is the gateway to my glory. When you say, "Lord, I can't," it is at that very moment that I rise from my throne to say, "I can do it for you." The world discards what is broken, but I restore what is broken to show that the power comes from me, and not from you. For it is written in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 9, "But he said to me, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me." Feel the depth of this revelation. I don't expect you to be perfect. I don't demand feigned courage from you. I see your soul stripped of masks. I see the weight you carry in your chest and the fear of failing the people you love. But it is precisely there, where you feel most fragile, that my power finds space to act. Where you see an end, I see a new beginning. Where you see incapacity, I see the perfect stage for my miracle. Do not try to hide your fear from me. Bring it into my presence. Remember that afternoon when the silence of the house seemed to swallow you whole, and you knelt down, not knowing what to say. That wordless sigh was the strongest prayer you ever made. It was there that my power was perfected in your weakness. I do not want your human strength, which is exhausted and fails. I want your total trust. If you feel that my strength is beginning to envelop your fragility now, like this message as an act of surrender. If you know someone who feels diminished by the weight of their own limitations, share this light and be my extended arm for them today. Let me ask you from heart to heart, what is it that makes you feel weakest in the face of challenges today? Write in the comments the word that seals our alliance of strength, declaring that you no longer walk alone. Your presence is enough. But be attentive, because fear will still try to shout louder to reclaim the territory it is losing. And I will teach you right now how to silence that noise with a truth that will make your enemy retreat in silence. Listen to the noise that fear makes inside your chest now. It is not just any sound. It screams like thunder trying to drown out my melody of peace. Have you noticed how noisy fear is? He uses the sound of rain hitting your window on a sleepless night to tell you that the storm will never pass. He uses the silence of your empty house to whisper that you have been forgotten. I see you sitting at the kitchen table, head in your hands, staring at those papers, those bills, or that diagnosis that feels like a death sentence. At that moment, the sound of your own breathing feels heavy, and the lump in your throat is so real that you even struggle to swallow your own truth. Fear screams to distract you from my presence. It knows that if you listen to its roar, you will stop looking at my promises. But I have come today to teach you to face this noise with my absolute truth. The giant may scream, but he has no authority to touch you without my permission. You have walked as if in a dark corridor, where every echo frightens you. But I am the light that dispels all shadows and the silence that calms any storm. For it is written in the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 41, verse 10, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Take hold of this truth now. I didn't just say I would be near, I said I am your God, the one who holds your right hand when your legs lose their strength. When you look at that giant that threatens you, be it debt, illness, or the loneliness that insists on visiting you, you shouldn't look at its size, but at the height from which I observe you. Fear may even scream that you will fall, but my righteousness screams louder that I have already lifted you up. Remember that cold morning when you didn't want to get out of bed because the weight of the day seemed greater than your will to live? It was there, in that moment of paralysis, that I breathed a new breath into your nostrils. The truth I give you today is that fear is a master of illusion. It makes the small seem enormous so that you feel insignificant, but you are my daughter, Heir to a kingdom that is not shaken by earthly noises. If you feel that the noise of fear is beginning to lose its power before my voice, cherish this message as a seal of victory. If you know someone who lives with their heart pounding, frightened by every piece of news, share this piece with them now. Let me ask you from soul to soul, what is the noise that has been keeping you awake the most in recent weeks? Write our watchword here in the comments, declaring that my silence is stronger than the enemy's cry. Silence the fear. But don't be fooled. Fear doesn't give up easily. It will try to change its strategy to catch you off guard. He will try to touch what you love most to see if you still trust me. And it is about this protection that I want to speak to you now, revealing something you haven't yet seen about the courage I planted in your heart. My beloved, have you ever wondered why your heart still burns for that dream, even after so many years of silence and so many voices saying that your time has passed? You feel this weight in your chest, for a restlessness that visits you on Sunday afternoons, when the sun sets and the house is bathed in an orange and melancholic light. I saw when you touched that old project, that idea of starting your own business or going back to school, and felt a tremor in your fingertips. Fear told you that the risk is too great, that the fall would be shameful. But listen to what your Father tells you. The courage I planted in you is not the absence of that nervousness, but the certainty that your purpose is greater than any danger. You have lived as if security were your most precious possession, but security without purpose is merely a comfortable prison. I called you to deeper waters, not to sit on the sand watching the sea. I see it when you look at old photos and feel nostalgic for the audacious woman you were before disappointments shaped you. That audacity hasn't died. It's just muffled by layers of fear. Courage is born when you take your eyes off "what if I fail?" and put them on who I'm fighting for. Your purpose, your family, your legacy, your mission to be a light is the fuel that makes fear recede. For it is written in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 6, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." Notice that I didn't ask you to be courageous alone. I said I will go with you. When you open that door that has been closed for 10 years, it is I who hold the doorknob with you. When you rise up to restore that relationship everyone says is lost, it is I who puts words of gentleness in your mouth. Courage is a spiritual muscle that only grows when exercised in the midst of the storm. Don't wait for fear to disappear to act. Act, and fear will lose its voice. I see you walking down the hallway of your work or your home, feeling the weight of responsibility and the fear of not being able to cope. But I remind you, you are not an accident. You are a project designed by heaven. The purpose I placed in your hands is what sustains you when the ground seems to give way. Fear is merely the gatekeeper of your next phase of glory. It tries to prevent you from entering, but it doesn't have the key to the door. If you feel that your purpose is beginning to cry out louder than your fears, leave your sign of agreement. If you are determined not to let fear steal another year of your life, like this message now, if you know someone who has given up on dreaming because they felt intimidated, share this strength with them. Let me ask you from father to daughter, what is the dream that fear tried to bury, but that your purpose insists on keeping alive? Write here in the comments our word of decision, sealing your commitment to what I have planned for you. I want to start over. But wait, because what I'm going to show you now is the image of your future, the awakening of a new woman who walks without the chains that bound her until today. There is a vision that I want to project before your eyes, something that will change the way you wake up tomorrow. See that light that begins to touch the floor of your living room very early, when the world still seems silent and only the aroma of fresh coffee fills the air? Close your eyes for a moment and try to see the woman walking towards that light. She no longer has shoulders hunched by the weight of worries, nor the lost look of someone expecting the worst every second. This woman, my daughter, is the awakening I prepared for you. Every decision you made today, even with your heart pounding in your chest and your hands still cold with uncertainty, was a step you climbed to escape the abyss of fear. I see you now, not as a prisoner of your traumatic memories, but as the architect of a new story that we are writing together. Feel the softness of the wind on your face and the relief of breathing deeply without that tight knot in your throat. You spent years listening to the clinking of the invisible chains that fear placed on your feet, preventing you from moving forward to the restoration you so earnestly asked me for in prayer. But look back now. The shackles remained in the desert sand you just crossed. That feeling that you weren't enough, that your time to be happy had run out along with your youth, evaporated before my presence. What I am doing in your life today is something so new that your old wounds will not be able to recognize it. For it is written in the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 43, verses 18 and 19. Do not remember the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will even make a way in the wilderness, and rivers in the desert. Do you perceive the power of this promise? I am not merely patching up your old life. I am creating something entirely new upon the ashes of what fear tried to destroy. Where there was a desert of loneliness, I am opening paths of companionship and peace. Where there was the dryness of abandonment, I am causing rivers of restoration to gush forth for your weary soul. You will wake up tomorrow, and the weight of silence in your home will no longer be loneliness, but a peace you haven't felt in decades. You will look at your children, your work, and your projects with the clarity of one who knows that the Lord of Time is in control of every detail. This new woman awakening within you does not fear bad news, because her heart is fixed on me. She no longer hides behind excuses, because she understood that her vulnerability was the soil where my strength flourished. You are ready to enter the land of your promise, without looking back, without allowing the ghost of what went wrong yesterday to haunt you today. If you feel your chains have fallen, and that this awakening is real for your life, leave your sign of liberation. If you are ready to walk without the weight of fear, enjoy this encounter with joy. If you know someone who is still trapped in a painful past, share this awakening with them right now. Let me ask you, with all my fatherly love, what is the first thing you will do now that you understand that fear no longer has power over your steps? Write here in the comments the word that seals your new identity in me, free in Him. But listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you now. We have reached the central point of our journey. There is a final key that I promised to give you, a whispered secret that will be your seal of victory for the rest of your life. My daughter, while this moment of intimacy seems to calm down, I want you to feel the warmth of my embrace enveloping each scar that fear has left on your soul throughout all these years. Together we journeyed on a path of profound revelation, from recognizing that invisible fence that tried to limit your steps to the awakening of this new woman who now rises before life with a new sparkle in her eyes. Do not allow the noise of the world outside, or the worries that await you at the kitchen door, to steal the seed of courage that I planted in your heart during these moments of surrender. You learned today that your vulnerability is not a flaw to be hidden, but the sacred breach through which my glory invades your story, transforming your trembling into a living testimony of power. Do you remember that, as soon as we began this appointed encounter, I made you a solemn promise? I said that if you remained with me until the end, I would whisper to your heart a phrase that would serve as a master key to open all the doors that fear has locked with padlocks of doubt. The time has come for you to take possession of this eternal inheritance, the ultimate answer to every uncertainty about the future, to every sleepless night, and to every threat the enemy has launched against your dreams, lies in these words that I now seal in your spirit like a fire that no one can extinguish. The key is this: I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. Do not keep this truth only in the silence of your thoughts. As an act of public faith, as a spiritual decree that your chains have been broken just now, I ask you, write this phrase of victory in the comments. I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. As you type each letter, feel the weight of anguish definitively leaving your shoulders. Whoever writes this phrase with a surrendered heart is releasing prophetic blessings upon their own house and upon their descendants. For it is written in my word, in the letter to the Philippians, chapter 4, verse 13, that your ability to advance does not depend on your human strength, but on my presence that sustains you. Our conversation does not end here, for my love for you is an infinite river that never stops flowing. I still have much to tell you, many secrets of the kingdom and many sure directions that I still want to whisper in your ear in our next messages. Continue walking under my shadow, immersing yourself in the other words of life that I have left for you in the playlist of this channel. Divine Love, the Voice of God. There you will find the necessary nourishment so that your newfound courage will never again wither before the storms. Go now with your head held high and your soul flooded with my peace. Fear is no longer your master, for I have rescued you from the shadows, and your tomorrow is already written with the colors of my victory.